Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Seth, and today we're going to be talking about Mars through the 3 decans of Sagittarius, and this is going to be the abridged version for y'all on YouTube. If you guys want to see the full version of this video, you can hop on over to patreon.com/CancerVirgoAstrology and donate, help support the channel, and get to see this entire series from Aries to Sagittarius, the full versions. So hopefully you guys will want to do that and enjoy, and if not, at least enjoy this version and whet your appetite so you can enjoy the full version. Mars is a planet of projection. Mars can project things like passion through sex and violence. It can project things like power through war and even peacekeeping strategies, at least if they're aggressive peacekeeping strategies. That's what Mars is really all about, projecting outwardly into the outside world and affecting the outside world through those projections. Now, as long as the outside world is being affected by those projections, then we have consequences. So Mars is also ruling over the consequences, for better or for worse, for those things that are projected. And a few of those things that Mars projects, including passion and power and things of that nature, is the theme of propagation, winning, to excel and to conquer. It's really the idea of the race of engagement and advancement and all the words I just said, all that shit falls under Mars. And because of this, Mars is the prime representation of the masculine, the archetypal masculine, not the cultural masculine. So it has nothing to do with being a man or being a bro. It has everything to do with the ability to project themes that align with advancement, propagation, and affecting the outside world. Where feminine is the idea of affecting your inner world, and eventually the outside world will be affected. Masculine is the idea of affecting your outside world, and eventually the internal will be affected. So there's your polarity. We provide purpose, we provide motivation and context to what Mars represents. So we answer the question just by existing: propagate what? Advance in what? To win what? And if we're running a race, what's the finish line? That's the idea of looking at Mars in a chart, looking at Mars through an interpretation. For us, we are able to answer the questions that give Mars a purpose, give Mars a motivation, that give Mars a context. So when you look for Mars in the tarot deck, you're going to look for the Tower card. This card represents Mars in the tarot, and it has a lot to do with destruction. Now, what destruction is in this context is it's advancement, it's propagation, it's evolution, it's growth, it's inconvenient. It's inconvenient advancement, inconvenient growth, inconvenient races. It's starting at finding yourself at the starting line of a race you did not sign up for. This is not a wholly negative card, but it is certainly inconvenient. The tarot represents Sagittarius as well, and that, and the card that represents Sagittarius is this card right here, and it is called Art. So you also may know this card, because I am using the Crowley deck, which is why you're not seeing traditional imagery. You may also know this card, Art, as Temperance, and a traditional deck, and a deck maybe more based off of Rider-Waite. It's all about ambiguity. Man or woman, hot or cold, black or white, the answer is always both when you're dealing with the card of Temperance or the card of Art. It's the blending of two things. It's the ability to not necessarily, it's not taking a side. You do take a side, but you're not afraid to take the side of the opposition as well. It's not the same as like the cultural, colloquial definition of Libra, that ability to kind of play devil's advocate. It's not the same here. It's the idea that you're willing to take on the other side, and you're willing to blend two things together, and it's with conviction. And it's the struggle to bring these two things together that really represents the artistry of the art card, or the wisdom, patient wisdom of temperance. It's the idea that growth and change and expansion comes from learning how to take hot and cold together and make warm, how to take a man and woman together and make society, make something more than itself, how to take the idea of black and white and make gray, just the idea, the true introduction of nuance, of real nuance, of understanding that there was never a black and a white to begin with, there was never a hot and a cold to begin with, there was always four sides to this story, not two. And there's never a right or wrong. Libra already taught us that, but this is the energy that does something about that. And of course there's a bad side, because with the freedom that allows to be able to experiment and this is not the jolly witty, in-your-face, honest to a fault Sagittarius archetype that we are so used to. And that is because this is Sagittarius without other factors and other variables thrown in. There's no houses yet, there are no planets yet, there are no aspects yet, none of that has been added to this equation yet. That's the beauty of being able to add in the tarot. We can just look at Sagittarius without the houses, without all of that other shit. And what we're doing in astrology, when we're looking at Sagittarius and we're trying to understand the traits and the characteristics of the signs, is we're looking at the sun being there. What does the sun tell us about Sagittarius? It's not Sagittarius telling us about itself, it's the sun telling us what Sagittarius is capable of. It's a variable, changing Sagittarius, because the sun has its own energy. So it's coming into that sign and changing things, and then we extrapolate from that and decide that that's Sagittarius, or we put Venus there, we put Mars there, or we put the first house there, we put the 8th house there, we put the 10th house there, and we decide what? That's Sagittarius? No, hopefully not. It's an aspect of the sign. It's what the sign is capable of. But I feel what I just discussed is what the sign is before any of that, before you add us and our search for purpose into the equation. So we have the 8, the 9, and the 10 of Wands. That is the first, the second, and the third decan of Sagittarius. We're going to go through all three of them. Now, what a decan is. The decans are segments of every sign in the zodiac. We all know that there are 30 degrees, or technically 29 degrees of every sign in the zodiac. Now, if you group those degrees up from 0 to 9 degrees, from 10 to 19 degrees, and from 20 to 29 degrees, when you group them up that way, you get the 3 decans. It's a means of zooming in to the sign. It's a means of understanding the nuance of that sign. It's a means of understanding the complicated story, overarching story of what that sign is about and what it's actually capable of, and what these planets are doing when they're moving through them, and what these houses are doing and aspects are doing, and all that good stuff. It's just a means of zooming in and analyzing even further. Every sign in the zodiac has 3 decans, and all of those 3 decans are broken down 0 to 9, 10 to 19, 20 to 29. What this zooming in does is it shows the fluidity of the chart, or the wheel, that we utilize in Western astrology to begin with. This idea that signs don't just stop and start, they don't just turn off and on, there's a fluidity to it. And each decan of a sign highlights that fluidity. This is the first decan of Sagittarius. This is the 8 of Wands, and this card is called Swiftness. In Scorpio, we established the idea of worth. And we realized that power is necessary. Power is promised, but power is nothing without purpose. So when we enter the first decan of Sagittarius, we realize that purpose is power. When you have a purpose, you are powerful. Everything that Scorpio can do, anyone can do if you have a purpose. But if you don't have a purpose, then it's kind of you're going to be the lower level of Scorpio. You're never really going to have power because purpose is power. You're just going to have titles and things. And so now that you have purpose and purpose is your power, the idea is to now be fully present for the work that you're going to have to do to manifest your purpose, to bring your purpose into this world. If you know you are meant for great things, you're going to have to discover what great things you already got going for you. You're going to have to tap into what's going on with Taurus, what's going on with Aries, what's going on with Leo, what's going on with Virgo. What are you already good at? What are you already manifesting? And how can you trigger great things to come of that? Your purpose is to be great. The rest of the shit is the tools to do so. You're going to have to define what greatness means for you. Not what greatness means in a grand sense, but what greatness means for you, as in how are you going to achieve greatness with your talents and your faults. Second decan of Sagittarius is represented by this card right here, and it is called Strength. What we're seeing here in the second decan is a continuation, of course, just like all second decans are, a continuation of the second decan, where you allow yourself to take note on what mistakes you are making. Because it's very easy to get trapped in the first decan of Sagittarius. Those are the Sagittariuses that keep making mistakes, but keep blaming the world. Those are the Sagittarius that are constantly lost and constantly assuming that everything that they do and everything that happens to them is a reaction. That everything is a reaction and that the world is attacking them or someone's attacking them or something's happening, and they get so caught up in it that it becomes their lives to just constantly react. The progress comes from moving into that second decan of Sagittarius and understanding that you are willing it so. You are always willing it so. Because you have a purpose, you have a guiding light, you are your own North Star. And that means learning from where you have traveled through. If you ever had to back up and reevaluate and fix on that North Star yet again and move in the correct direction, don't be afraid to learn from that. The number one thing to learn from that is that it's always okay to back up to where you feel comfortable again and then move into a better direction. It's never a bad thing to admit you made a mistake, because that means you are admitting that you have learned something and that there is something to learn. It's finding out or making a discovery at the end of your experimentation. That's all a mistake is, a discovery. That's all a success is a discovery. Just one is convenient, one is not. The last decan of Sagittarius is represented by the Ten of Wands. And this card is called Oppression. What we're finding here is the idea of really accepting, truly accepting your path and truly accepting that your purpose is not a goal. What that means, that your purpose is not a goal, your purpose is not an achievement, your purpose is your guiding light, your purpose is what motivates you, what moves you, it's your power to achieve anything. That's how you've been able to achieve everything. And you will be surpassed. You will be the teacher that has become student. The people that you inspire will do better than you. That's the point. The people that you influence will do more creative things than you. That is the point. When you open the floodgates of a middle way, you're allowing people to shine in whatever unique way that they shine. When they understand that they don't have to pick hot or cold, that they can be the middle, they can be warm, they're allowed to utilize their purpose as power and maybe discover, no, hot is what I want, or cold is what I want, or the middle warm is exactly where I fit. You've allowed people to do experimentations of their own and they will shine on their own. The idea that what you've done was so spectacular needs to be personal because it was your purpose. not your goal. You didn't do it for the fame. You didn't do it for the money. Those things came or they didn't. But understand you will always be surpassed because you've opened the doors for people to excel faster than you. And that is why you will be remembered. Alright, so thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this abridged version of Mars through the 3 decans of Sagittarius. Again, if you want to see the full series, you can hop on over to patreon.com/CanceVirgoAstrology. If you want to talk to me and engage with me, leave a comment down below. Like, subscribe, engage. You can also find me at CanceVirgoAstro on Twitter, at CanceVirgo_astrology on Instagram, and CanceVirgoAstrology on Facebook. You can always find me there. Keep up with the channel. Keep up with new projects that are going to be coming out. And yeah, just stay tuned because you never know what I'll be talking about next.